Hi, good morning, everyone. Please, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Amanda Buckingham, Managing Director of Warriedar Resources Limited with ASX ticker code WA8, Whisker Alpha 8. Amanda is here today to update us on the significant developments at the Ricciardo Deposit and the broader Golden Range project. Recently, Warriedar doubled their gold resource at Ricardo, achieving a remarkable 99% increase in contained ounces, and the company is also advancing its antimony resource estimates. With a strong focus on both gold and critical minerals, Amanda will share with us their latest findings and insights into these projects, highlighting Warriedar's strategic approach to exploration and growth in the resource sector. Welcome back, Amanda.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be back speaking with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I remember we spoke in July, so we're ready to get some updates from you. I know we spoke about some exciting prospects before about drilling, so let's dive into it. Well, first and foremost, look, Warriedar has positioned itself as a premium gold company in the Murchison region. I want to know again, what really makes this region so strategically important for your growth?
The Murchison is quite a remarkable area. So the Murchison already has quite a few long-life, deep tapping, profitable mines. So it has a proven track record of making people money.
Okay.
But on top of that, there are large parts of the Murchison that have not been explored well at all. And what this means is the opportunity to find new deposits is quite compelling. It's real. And it's basically in front of us. We own quite I'd say a very prospective package of land, and we already have gold deposits, and we're just out there finding more gold. And that's what we did during the second half of last year.
Through drilling, right?
Through drilling, exactly. So when I spoke to you last July, we had been drilling, and we had carried out the first diamond drilling program, which basically the best type of drilling. You get the most information, and yeah, it's a bit more expensive, but it's basically the premier drilling type. So we were diamond drilling, and what we did when we spoke to you in July, we ended up getting in some fantastic results. And in November, we put out, as you mentioned, a larger gold resource. We doubled the size of our main deposit. And to me, that just shows the market and our investors and all our stakeholders that we were right in the sense that, yes, this project has incredible growth opportunity.
I am smiling ear to ear. So look, the Ricciardo deposit recently saw a 58% increase in mineral resources to 1.2 million ounces, right? So what were the main factors behind this growth, and what is your next steps for Ricardo now?
Yeah, so Ricardo itself, you're right, Ricardo sits in the middle of what we call the golden corridor, and within there's 1.2 million ounces of gold. It's really good for us to have a focus area. So Ricardo is the focus. There's just under 1 million ounces, and that's where we believe most growth will happen immediately. But what we love about this project, there are 6 deposits in that key area. And more than that, we then own the entire central greenstone belt. And what am I talking about? What is a greenstone belt? They're just the rocks that are favorable to host gold deposits. So when you're looking for gold, you need a crack in the earth that allows the gold to travel, and you need something to make the gold come out of the solution and stay there. And we have all the right ingredients for large-scale gold deposits in the Murchison. So we're delighted with what we've already achieved. But what I'm most excited about is what we can do moving forward in terms of further growth.
So you're saying you have the right rocks?
And the right cracks. So you need the right rocks, the right cracks, the right cracks in the rocks, and also a proven area. By that I mean, let's say you just had the right rocks and the right breaks or cracks in the rocks. If there's no gold, it's of no interest to anyone. But we have the rocks, the breaks, and the gold deposits that, by the way, at the moment they have no bottom, meaning there's no defined lower surface to the gold. They could just keep going and going. Anytime we drill below our gold deposits, we find more gold. And I love that. Often these deposits, they tap deep, they just keep going, deeper and deeper. And that's what we've seen in the Murchison. There's some really successful mining companies where their shallow gold deposits became deep gold deposits. And that's what we think is happening at our project.
It's truly exciting. So now, look, the Golden Corridor is a key focus for Warriedar. What makes this area now so important, and what recent drilling results have you actually seen there from all of your drilling?
Yeah, so in November, we doubled the size of Ricardo, but we didn't stop there. We then sent the drilling crew out again, and in December, we drilled a further program. We got those results earlier this year, and they showed that there's even more gold just to the south of Ricardo. Likewise, I guess I'd call it a parallel opportunity, we spent January looking for more antimony at our project. So we are progressing both the gold and the antimony story at Ricardo. Right now, as I speak to you, we have a drill rig on site drilling again. As I've said before, it's so important to drill as a junior company. If you don't drill, you don't find gold. Now, of course, drilling is very expensive, so you need to make sure the holes are put in the right spot. But we do all that work behind the scenes. We optimize where the holes go. And we've had a fantastic track record. Almost every hole we have drilled last year and this year, almost every hole has hit significant gold. So yes, more drilling, more good results, doubling the resource, the emergence of antimony, and we're drilling today.
That's a bonus. And could you, if you are able to, off the top of your head, I guess, how many holes have you drilled since we met?
Oh, good question. Since July. So last year in total, we drilled about 20,000 meters drilling. And so that for a small company, that's quite a lot. The doubling of Ricardo, we drilled 15,000 meters that actually went into that resource. So every one of those holes contributed to the doubling of that resource. This year, we are, let me think, we have drilled about 3,200 meters to date. So, and we've got about a 9,000 meter program that we're working towards.
Okay, so there's still a lot of potential in the balance of the 9,000 that is yet to come.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's quite exciting where we're drilling. So obviously we're drilling at Ricardo again, but we're also drilling at a deposit called Well, which has its own special personality. In a way, it's an easier deposit than Ricardo. Without going into all the details, it's high grade, close to our mill, and the way you process that gold is a lot easier than some other deposits. So we love that in our portfolio, we've got a whole range of characteristics in terms of the different deposits, and we would like to grow each of the key resources. So we have, a critical mass of gold, and then that gives us fantastic options moving forward.
Excellent. And look, we discussed it very briefly already. You touched on it. You recently discovered high-grade antimony at Ricardo. How could this discovery actually impact the project's value on top of the gold deposits?
Quite significantly. I do need to say, like quite a few of our shareholders who I do speak with regularly, they've seen a change in my approach to antimony. I think initially last August when we put out the first high-grade intercept, I was cautiously interested. And I thought, well, look, if we don't have a bit of scale and size to this, it means nothing. So what we did is we carried out the right, workflow to progress the antimony story. We got good results, and then we did more work. We found more antimony. And as we went through the process, I'm now extremely excited about what we can do with our antimony. What it does is it potentially improves the project economics considerably. It means that we can have a deeper pit when we go back into mining. It really just means we can make more money from the earth that we dig up. Antimony at the moment, the price has skyrocketed in the last year, and all indications are that that price will remain high. Now, what we have, which I'd say quite comfortably there's not a lot of exploration companies with antimony resources globally that are high grade, wide, on permitted mining leases in jurisdictions that are favourable to, go into development. And even from a mining perspective, the way the antimony is it's wide and high grade. So we're not dealing with challenging ore bodies yet. So we're very pleased with how this is progressing.
And look, this is a bit off topic, but quickly again, could you advise our investors and viewers, antimony, what is this resource actually used for, and why has this price skyrocketed in the past 12 months due to geopolitical reasons?
Yes, so antimony is most of the global consumption or use of antimony. I believe 48%. There's a great report put out by a group called RFC Ambrian. So I'm reading straight from that, or from my memory. Hopefully it's correct. I believe about 48% of the world's consumption is to do with the fact that antimony goes into a fire retardant. So it's put into, for example, clothing that needs to be fire proof. You know, children's pajamas. You can't stand in front of an open fire and have the material catch fire. So a fire retardant nature of antimony. It goes into solar panels, I guess ammunitions, and there's a lot of defense and military applications, semiconductors. There's a range of applications for antimony, but importantly, the global supply routes have changed a lot. So China has restricted the exporting of antimony to the US, and I believe they're bringing in restrictions to the EU in October. I was reading that a few days ago. So I guess the supply routes have been severely restricted by China's change in their approach. But likewise, for example, the US doesn't have a domestic supply, so countries are scrambling to source supplies of antimony. And all indications are that won't change. The global demand for it will stay, and therefore the price will stay high. So we love that. The price of gold has gone up, and antimony, we have gold and antimony, and we just need to stay focused, move ahead, continue to grow our resources on both fronts, and then put our company in the best position for success.
To monetize it. So look, Warriedar has access to significant infrastructure, including our CIL processing plant. I mean, how does this help your project, especially at Ricardo in the Golden Range?
It helps us quite a lot. And it's only in the last 6 months we've really come to appreciate the value of the infrastructure that we have. So we do have an old CIL processing plant.
Sure.
Now, what that means is that we potentially could save us 2 or 3 years in terms of the permitting process, because it is already permitted. Yes, it needs to be upgraded and refurbished. So there would be an initial cost to do that. But what we're really seeing, that the value of time and the fact that it's already permitted, we can fast track back into production of gold using that facility, if that's what our resources demand. Now, I should comment that setup won't process the antimony or the gold that's deeper, but what it would do is potentially process the shallow gold, and that would give us early cash flow to then be able to fund and support, an upgrade of that facility for processing deeper ore. So it just gives us optionality. And it also makes us stand out. There's not many other exploration companies who have a solid resource, incredible growth opportunities, and that infrastructure. And also we have a sealed road to the Geraldton port. There's some fantastic attributes of our project that are really going to fast track our path.
And I guess the next question I have on a personal level is, you've been very focused since we met up in July. You've done everything you said you're going to do. So in terms of are you at the next stage where you're already projecting ahead on monetization?
I'd say, it's a challenging question to answer, because I can say quite comfortably this is fine internally. So to start to mine, there's different stages you need to go through, a scoping study, feasibility studies. What we are doing now is what I call internal scoping. So we have a group that we have engaged, and they're doing a fantastic job, and they're basically looking at our resources and giving us proper numbers about what we can do with them. Which deposits we could mine, when, what would the time frame be, and that's really important information for us. Now, it's not something we can publicly put out to market, but it informs us as a board and as an operations team, and allows us to make better decisions in terms of how we monetize these assets and what opportunities we say yes to.
Excellent. Sounds like we're in good hands. And so look, with a current market capitalization of around $55 million, Australian dollars, what is your current proposition to both current and new shareholders? And how do you actually plan? Look, we're still only in March on enhancing shareholder value for the rest of 2025.
I think currently if you look at our market cap and you look at what we have in terms of the resources, infrastructure, and potential, there's a complete disconnect. And I actually love that, because now is the time for new investors to come on board, for existing shareholders to hold on. Actually, one shareholder sent me a text message the other day and said, Amanda, I feel like the Warriedar share price has been held back by a rubber band and it's just about to go ping. And look, I don't know if that's true or not. All I can do is focus on what we do and how we move forward. But I certainly feel the excitement. I think there's more awareness too, Gia, of who we are, what we have, particularly with the emergence of the antimony story. So look, I'll remain focused on growing the resources and putting us on a path that, you know, is the best path to monetize these assets. And I believe there's a good chance that the market and the wider audience will catch up to what a fantastic proposition Warriedar is.
And I guess I want to circle back, right? So, and please educate me if I am wrong. We discussed it's 1.2 million ounces. Is that 1.2 million 9 ounces of gold you're projecting in that deposit?
So there's currently 1.3 million ounces total. 1.2 is in the main, what we call the golden corridor. But yes, there's 1.3 million ounces of gold currently. Now, when we bring the antimony in, that will be in addition to our resource table. And I can't really speak about that yet because, you know, it's not out, but we are very optimistic and excited to get it out. And that really, having those numbers around antimony, it means that we can play in that antimony space really well. It's a really good milestone in terms of us moving down that path. And it also improves the economics of our gold deposit considerably, because it means we can dig a deeper pit and take more gold out in that sort of style of mining, which is always far more economic. So,
and something that I have spoken to other CEOs around would be like the net present value, right? So whilst your market capitalization's at 55 million, I'm assuming, and my maths is okay, is that if you've got 1.3 million ounces of gold, times it by the spot price it is today, the net present value doesn't truly reflect, well, your market cap doesn't reflect the net present value.
Absolutely. I agree with you entirely there. Yes.
I'm glad my maths is still sharp. So I have another question. So what are the key milestones for your drilling activities this year, and how do you plan to keep up this like pace? Because you've done 20,000 since we met. You've got another 9,000 to go. I'm curious, are you going to run out of puff?
We don't run out. I mean, some days, honestly, I do run out of puff some days. But we've got a small but very motivated and incentivized team. We also bring in quite a few externals when we need help. Yes, we do run a tight ship. We're always busy. We spend most of the money in the ground if at all possible. So there is always a lot happening. But in terms of moving forward and in terms of key news items and milestones, we're drilling now. We plan to grow the Windon Well resource, the Ricardo resource, the M1 resource, and there's another called Valencia that doesn't even appear on our resource table, but that we will be drilling soon. So all that drilling will go towards a larger gold inventory, but also critically, we've got our antimony, the maiden resource for that, that commodity coming out during the second half of April, and that will be a fantastic milestone to get to. And then likewise with the internal scoping that we're doing, there'll be other opportunities, that will come to light as we roll into the next quarter and beyond. So I'd say, I mean, I look ahead here at the next quarter for us, and it's a pivotal, important. We're in a fantastic position at the moment. Yeah, and that's probably as much as I can say on that. But I
Understood.
like where we are, where we're heading, and I like what we have in our bag of tricks. So yeah, watch this space. It's going to get very interesting.
And in saying all of those other programs that you've got, you just mentioned, are they also all located within the Murchison region?
Yes, so our we decided that it was best for us to allocate funds to our project in the Murchison.
Hmm.
But it's worth mentioning that we also have a gold project in Nevada, and it's
Yes.
1 million ounces on a permitted mining lease. And it's a
Mhm.
great, it's a fantastic project, but it also gives us options. So we're very open to divesting that project to the right group and on the right terms. And what that would allow us to do is to remain focused on our WA project, where we've had incredible success, via the doubling of Ricardo. So any monetization of our Nevada asset would even add to what we can do in WA. So yeah, all focus on the Murchison and our project there, but there's
Yep.
certainly a lot of scope to grow that. I see no reason our Murchison project can't be a 6 to 8 million ounce project over the fullness of time. But I say that quite openly. You look at the geoscience data, you look at the mines around us, and you look at what we've managed to do in just 1 year of drilling. And it's quite remarkable. So the upside for our project is very exciting. And I
Yep.
very much believe it's a much larger complex.
Sounds like an asymmetric trade. So I have one final question around, I think we've touched on it again, but I am really curious. So what really excites you for Warriedar, and the team that you're working with, and what would your final big goal for 2025, the push goal?
There's quite a few. So I believe we can hit some fantastic high-grade gold in these
Yes.
drill holes that we're
Mhm.
drilling now. And I also know that we are currently funded. We've got a fantastic team. We just doubled the resource last year. Our infrastructure is getting a lot of attention, and the antimony story is really coming to light. So the goal and the motivation and the way I see us moving forward is further growth and putting us in the best possible position to go down paths that work for Warriedar. So what am I talking about? I monetize the asset or put us on a path to meaningful long-term growth. And I see
Yes.
no reason we can't be a successful mining company in the Murchison with a 10-year mine life and 100,000 ounce per annum production profile. That is what we are setting ourselves on the path to achieve. And it is there in the rocks and the project that we own. So I love that. I can project forward and see this all, not without a lot of hard work, but the path we're on is extremely favorable. And we just need to stick to our guns and keep drilling. That's how you achieve success.
Uh, Thank you, Amanda. It's always a pleasure. So same time, 9 months?
Absolutely, Gia. Thank you. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure, thank you. And as normal, what we'll do is if any of our shareholders or our members or our viewers have any questions, I'll get them to send it through to info@eastcoastresearch.com.au or info@sharesinvalue.com.au, and we'll forward them through to your team to handle. Is that possible?
Absolutely. We always love answering questions, so please do that. Fantastic.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, dear. Bye.